Welcome. It's your man, God Dotson. We are back. Hope everybody had a very good weekend. Hope you had a very good start to the week. And of course, this is election night. So, I'm just like everybody else closely watching the CNNs, the MSNBCs, and all that good stuff. How you doing, Dr. Nikki and Teresa, for coming in early? Yeah, I'm just like everybody else, kind of watching to see what's what, how stuff is kind of breaking right now. Um, Latest update, Trump is leading in the total vote as far as electoral college is concerned, but that's not unexpected. He's won a lot of the traditionally Republican states as of right now. So just watching to see how this kind of shakes out. But we're here for the sport. How you doing, Miss Murph? Um Here for the sports, of course. But of course, just like everybody else, got my eye looking out. Gator girl, what's going on? Got my eye looking out to see how this kind of shakes out. Might be a long night, but it typically is on election night. If you vote, if you do vote, I'm just gonna say that I don't like to pressure people into doing stuff like that. If you voted, I hope you took the time to really look at what was on the ballot in your particular area, not just looking at the presidency and kind of keep it moving. Hope you looked at everything that was on the ballot to be voted on. But anyway, tonight's episode, the stock report, of course, we're going to talk about the games that just happened this past weekend, and of course the NFL trade deadline, which ended at 4 o'clock today. We had some teams make some moves. There was buyers and it was some sellers, and some teams made some pretty good moves. I think that was going to improve their chances in the season going forward. Some teams, looking at you Cowboys, kind of made some questionable moves. I would say typically around the NFL trade deadline, it's some moves made. It's very rare you see superstar players being moved. It ain't like the NBA. But teams made some moves, made some upgrades. Teams are kind of pushing in, and in certain team situations, I get it. You need to slightly improve your roster. And I would say this about NFL trading draft picks. I have no issue with teams trading draft picks, because typically most teams, if you don't have a stockpile of picks, you get your traditional 7, and of course you get like compensatory picks depending on like free agency and stuff like that, technical stuff. But if you're able to get a proven commodity, a player who has a track record or has actual NFL film, you can look at and kind of see, does that fit in what you're trying to do with your team and what you got going on, then by any means, if it's going to cost you a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick, do it. Do it. But let's get into the latest and greatest. Of course, let me go ahead and get my team out of the way. Cowboys fans, I've been telling you since week 3. This is not a good team. Lose once again, lose to the Atlanta Falcons, and lost. Currently has been discussed, but it's not maybe made official. Dak Prescott, who left the game with a hamstring injury, Jerry Jones has kind of come out and said Dak will be on IR, which means he'll miss a minimum of 4 games. I don't know if this is the optimist in me, Cowboys fans. Hear me out. I don't know if this is the optimist in me, but not to say that I'm picking the Cowboys to win any of the next 4 games. I'm not going to say that. Considering the teams that they got on their schedule and how those teams are kind of performing, how this team's kind of performed, I'm not picking them. But I think this might be a good thing culturally for the team. You just kind of take a silver lining from that. I think culturally, with the way the team has been performing, of course we get some guys back, but guys are going out. CeeDee Lamb. We'll slated to play against the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll talk about that on the next show as far as the preview. But CeeDee Lamb with injury, Dak out, and Cooper Rush, I will say this, in the limited action he's got this season and his track record as a starter. Listen, I have no issue with Cooper Rush being a starter quarterback, and I think, and it is crazy to say this. It's crazy to say this. I think you're going to see a much more balanced Cowboys attack. Not to say that I'm picking them to win any of the games. I'm not doing that. I'm a fan. I love my boys to the death of me, but the product they put out there on the field, it has been subpar. They did make a trade earlier today for Jonathan Mingo, wide receiver from Carolina, young guy. I think he's got about 2 years in the league. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not overly hyped about them trading for Mingo. It doesn't move the needle for me, even if Dak was healthy and this team was kind of rolling. Mingo it's had a hard time breaking into the rotation in Carolina, and as bad as Carolina is, and you having a hard time breaking in the wide receiver rotation there, kind of says a lot about you and what you got going on. But listen, Cooper Rush is going to be the starting quarterback for the foreseeable future. I've liked what I've seen from Cooper Rush. Not that he's electrifying, but the team just seems to play a much more balanced style of offense. He's there. He's not forcing the ball to a CeeDee Lamb. He feels more comfortable in the times he has played with the guys he throws to in practice, which is usually third, fourth receiver in the room. So, we'll see. But overall, Cowboys season's over, not making the playoffs. And Jerry is to blame. And I think this is a problem with the Cowboys you don't see with any other franchise in the NFL. When the most notable person in regards to your team is not the star quarterback, it's not star wide receiver, it's not a superstar pass rusher, it's not even the head coach. When the most notable person, when they start off the news cycle and then start off the sports centers and all of that kind of stuff, and Jerry Jones is kind of like the face of the franchise, and that is a problem when your owner is the face of the franchise. Jesus. Cowboys fans, you're just gonna have to suck it up. You're just gonna have to suck it up this year. We're not good. We're not, we have talent in spots, but team didn't do enough in the offseason to improve. And you see the teams that are even the teams that are flying high right now, looking at Kansas City Chiefs, looking at the Detroit Lions, looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens, amongst other teams. Those teams made moves in the offseason to improve their teams. Those teams made moves during the season to improve. So Jerry Jones, the GM, I would have fired his ass about a decade ago. But hey, when you're an owner and the GM, who's going to, as they say, who's going to check you? I'm just saying. Get that out the way. I'm not excited about the rest of the season, but I'm curious to see how Cooper Rush performs. That's probably about the only silver lining I have, because typically he likes to spread the ball around more, get other receivers involved, and kind of see what you have. Kind of see what you have. I was surprised also that considering the way the season is kind of going, they didn't get off some of those contracts. As far as like Zach Martin and DeMarcus Lawrence, you didn't get off some of those contracts, kind of free up some money. Your team's not good. You could have got some draft capital to come back for those guys. Zach Martin, at least third, fourth round pick, maybe traditional Pro Bowler, perennial Pro Bowl, excuse me. But hey, buyers and sellers, and you obviously wanted to be buyers, Jerry. That's about all I got to say. Let's get my Cowboys ran out the way and let's move on with the rest of the show. Break down the rest of the games from this past this past weekend. Very good games that was on TV. A lot of things was kind of exposed with some of the better teams. Kind of made me kind of rethink some of my positions on some of those teams. We're going to start with the last Thursday's game. The Jets go, at home, take care of business against the Texans team. And I've been saying this about the Texans, especially over the past 3 to 4 weeks. This team just kind of looks off. I don't know if you can put a lot of that as far as the offense is concerned. I don't know if you can put a lot of that on the injury to Stephon Diggs. I don't know. CJ Stroud is kind of hitting a slump. Offense is not really clicking and moving the ball that they were doing to the early part of the season. I would say this Jets played with desperation. I think their season is over, but hey, it is what it is. You need a win. You need a win. But I'm more so looking at the Texans. I don't know. I kind of see them slipping out of that what we call tier one. You guys know how I am about my tier one teams. Teams that elite. Texans are not looking like that. Thankfully for them, they play in a bad division. So they're still in lockstep right now to be AFC South champions when it's all said and done, which guarantees at least one home game in the playoffs. but the Texans have not looked good. Texas have not looked good, especially over the past 3 weeks offensively. I don't know what it is. CJ Stroud is kind of struggling. Run game hasn't been as effective. I thought, even with Stephon Diggs going out, you still have, the guys you had last year, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, but it just has not matriculated into enough points. And Houston, concerned. I'm concerned. I don't know. I don't know what's kind of going on. Defense has played fairly well during that stretch for the most part, but the offense, if you're going to continue to play like this, you're not beating the Kansas City, you're not beating the Pittsburgh, you're not beating the Baltimore, you're not beating the Buffalo, and they need to get it fixed now. They need to get it fixed now. Moving on with the rest of the games, Bills hang on, last second field goal against the Miami Dolphins. I picked Bills in this one, but I said I was going to be, watching how Miami played with Tua in his second game back, and I'm if you're a Dolphins fan, be encouraged, understanding that when you lost Tua, you lost pretty much your offense and all of that. But Miami played a very good game. It said a lot about Buffalo that you would even in a dog fight at home against the Dolphins, and with Tua, kind of take your business, and Josh Allen. All right, like I said, you walk away with from those games with some questions. You walk away from those games with some questions. Is Josh Allen going to have to carry this team all the way? I don't. And if that's the recipe for successful Buffalo, do you think that's going to get you over the Pittsburghs, the Baltimores, and Kansas City? It's not happening, Captain. It's not happening. I can't wait from the Dolphins, more encouraged for them than Buffalo getting the win, continue their hot start to the season. But I think Buffalo, I'm seeing some slippage on that defense. I'm seeing some slippage a little bit on that defense. Josh Allen, we're going to see. We're going to see. Looking at the rest of the games as we kind of break it down, Washington Commanders take care of business in the trap game, beat the Giants on the road. Commanders also making a big move at the trade deadline, bringing a cornerback from New Orleans, Marshon Lattimore, who's has been nicked up this year, but is typically one of the top cover corners in the NFL. Bring him over. I like that move by the Commanders as a team that understands, hey, we're hot, we're rolling, but we can be better, especially on the back end of that defense. And I like the move from Washington. It shows a bit of aggression, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'm kind of say this here and say this now. Jayden Daniels, with the way that he's played, Washington is not my Super Bowl pick. I'm not switching my Super Bowl pick, but I will say this about Washington. If they continue to play like this, with Jayden Daniels being on a rookie contract, don't be surprised if Washington becomes real aggressive, and I mean real aggressive in the offseason and putting pieces together for him to make a Super Bowl push. We saw this, you typically see this with teams that got a guy on a rookie deal where they bring in a lot of high value talent and make a run for it. And I think Washington is in prime position with where you have a young star like Jayden Daniels. You might as well go ahead and give him Rookie of the Year. Might as well go ahead and give him Rookie of the Year. Washington is a very good team. And I would say this, Washington is a very well coached team. Dan Quinn is doing a hell of a job there in Washington. He's exceeding all expectations. I think him and his coaching staff need to be applauded, on both sides of the ball. And bringing over Marshon Lattimore, Washington, who I had moved up to my tier one, is in that discussion. I still think Detroit is the best team in the NFL and in the NFC, but Washington has to be in the conversation as a team that, hey, we can compete with those teams on any given Sunday. With as long as we got the young guy Jayden Daniels, we can keep him upright. He'll make plays when he's supposed to make plays, and I think this defense is going to be a little bit better in the second half of the season with the addition of Marshon Lattimore, bringing him over. Because he can, I'm not going to say he's Darrelle Revis or anything, but Lattimore is a very good cover corner, and he can kind of lock down a number one receiver for long stretches of games. Be on the lookout for Washington. Be on the lookout for Washington for the second half of the season. Biggest question you got to have with Washington the second half of the season. One, did you do enough at the trade deadline to improve your team? You brought over Lattimore. I thought they might have brought over another piece, but that's neither here nor there. Will Jaden Daniels? The biggest question for Washington is: will Jaden Daniels hit the rookie wall? Will he hit the rookie wall? I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see if he hits the rookie wall. But congratulations to them for taking care of business against the Giants. Daniel Jones, I think you're just playing out the string, dude. You're out of there. This season, I think you need to be gone. I think the head coach need to be gone, and for all intents and purposes, might as well go ahead and wash it all out, clean house, get the GM out of there too. The Giants are just not a good team, not well constructed, afraid to spend money. I don't get it. I don't get it. Moving on. With the breakdowns of the rest of the games, Eagles hold on against the Jacksonville Jaguars team. They kind of got their stuff together. Like I said, this is a Jekyll and Hyde team. Kind of got their stuff together in the second half. Made it a fight until the end. Trevor Lawrence with the late turnover. But I think the Eagles have to be encouraged. With the style of play that they're playing, I like the balance that they have where they're leaning on Saquon Barkley, leaning on the run game, and not forcing Jalen Hurts to sit back there and have to throw 35, 45 times a game. I think Philadelphia's trending in the right direction on both sides of the ball. And when you have a team that can run the ball control, that really helps the defense, not just Jalen Hurts, but it also helps the defense because they're not on the field as much, getting exposed. I think that was some of the issues they were having at the beginning of the season where they were just relying too much on Jalen Hurts to be throwing. And, when those drives are not ending in touchdowns and those drives are not ending in points, your defense is having to go back out there. And, eventually those guys get tired and they get exposed. And you have a very young secondary that was kind of getting taken advantage of early in the season. But I like what they've done, especially over the last 3 to 4 games in Philadelphia. I might have to, if they continue trending like this, no slouch. They have the talent to compete with anybody. I don't have them above Detroit, but I think that'll be a hell of a game, especially with the way Saquon is playing and the way Jalen Hurts has kind of turned his season around with the change of schemes. Question marks you have to have about Philly in the second half of the season. I'm surprised they didn't really make a move, then kind of bring in a possible pass rusher. There was some pass rushes available in the trade market. I was kind of concerned, kind of question marked it. Philadelphia didn't do that. It seems how everybody else kind of improved, the contenders wise, kind of improved their team. Surprised Philadelphia didn't bring somebody in. We're going to see. Question mark, another question mark for Philly the second half. Nick Sirianni. Ooh, Jesus. Some of your coaching decisions, man. The game against Jacksonville was completely egregious. It was a game that had no business being that close at the end of the day. Had no business being that close at the end of the day. Excuse me, I had to give me a sip of water. Have me give me some. Think Jerry Jones might outlive you? He might. He might, Dr. Nick. It is that old Jesus, man. But what can you do? But be the damn owner. He's the first one. Jesus, I'm like, as soon as the game's over, he's the first one with a microphone in his face. Like, Jesus. Yeah, Miss Murphy, Nick Sirianni. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make a very deep run in the playoffs. He's gone. Some of his coaching decisions. I get you want to be aggressive. You want to try to get your Dan Campbell on. But sometimes like you went for like fourth down on like 2 times. Went for 2. Went for 2. A couple of times. Like, what are you doing, dude? What are you? All right, what are you trying to? Your team is playing sound fundamental football. What are you doing? I mean, if it took a Trevor Lawrence bad decision on a first and goal, and if he doesn't throw that interception, we might be having a completely different discussion right now. What are you doing, Nick Sirianni? Eagles fans, and you might want to keep an eye on him. But I like the way that they're trending. Congratulations on them for picking up the win. Also, in the win column, Detroit goes on the road in the nasty weather up there in Green Bay. Listen, Detroit, I've been saying it all season, and guys, if you've been listening to the show for any extended amount of time, I've been on the Detroit Lions. I guess you could call it bandwagon for the least the last 3 seasons. Like, hey, this is a team, you watch out for. This team is just hard to stop. Then they go out and bring in a pass rusher to help with the since the loss of Aiden Hutchinson, the one area they were kind of sorely needing some more production out of was the pass rush. To go out there and get a guy, but they take care of business on the road, in the nasty weather. And the conversation for best team in the NFL. I know Kansas City's still undefeated. We'll talk about them in just a second. But if you're watching the games. Detroit just looks like the most complete team in football right now. With the way this offense is able to not only run the ball in different fashions. You got Montgomery with the he pounded up, pounded up the middle in that style. Then you have Gibbs, who's a home run threat. Then you have the passing game. Understand Jameson Williams will be back. And I think he got one more game to sit out. He'll be back. So you got that deep threat. Amon-Ra St. Brown is clearly a number one receiver. And Jared Goff is with that offensive line, probably the best offensive line in football. The way he's clicking and locked in right now, Detroit is hard for me to see. Watching them and watching Kansas City, it's hard for me to say that Kansas City's playing better, even though they have a better record. But Detroit took care of business against the Packers. I think the Packers will be okay. Jordan Love is, like I said, he's been a little turnover happy this season, turning the ball over a lot more than he did last year. He's not being as careful with the ball. That is kind of concerning if you're a Packers fan. But I think overall, Green Bay will be fine. They'll be in the conversation for the playoffs and have an opportunity, depending on matchups, to make some noise. Green Bay is a very, very, very good team. Just not on that level with Detroit as of right now. But hey, they could get there. Speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs taking care of business home, winning the overtime on Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was kind of confused about this one. I'm gonna be honest with you, I was kind of confused about this one. Travis Kelce, finally, he decided to start playing football again. It's not been the best season for Travis Kelce. I don't know if you want to call that a Taylor Swift effect. I don't know. Don't care. Had his biggest game of the year. Kansas City offense looked a little better than they have for the majority of the season as far as being able to move the ball. Run game was kind of going. Kareem Hunt had a very good game. Defense was challenged. Defense was challenged by Tampa Bay. I think Baker Mayfield played a very good game. Had an opportunity to take it in overtime. Just I never got that opportunity. Kansas City stays undefeated. When you look at it's a Taylor Swift, yeah. When you look at the rest of their schedule, considering how bad outside of Denver, how bad the AFC West is. When you talk about still having the Raiders, the Chargers team can be kind of hit or miss. We saw the Broncos get dismantled. Is it a possibility? Kansas City goes undefeated. And I will say this. If Kansas City goes undefeated, think about this. They go undefeated, win the Super Bowl, will be the first team to three-peat in the Super Bowl era. Will be the second team to have an undefeated season. If they go undefeated, Chiefs fans, I mean, how do you not say this is the greatest run by a team ever to three-peat? And then if you do it with the undefeated record, Jesus. But back to the here and now. Kansas City stays undefeated. Schedule looks favorable for them. You have to be encouraged if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fans. The offense, was kind of clicking. Travis Kelce was cited on Monday night, but I think Buccaneers found some ways to kind of attack that Kansas City defense, and you kind of limit the turnovers against Kansas City defense. You have an opportunity to take advantage of it. It's still a very good defense. But Kansas City take care of business home. Buccaneers, I think we'll be in the conversation for playoffs in the NFC. I think their team is that good, that talented. I think Baker Mayfield's playing that well of football. Speaking of playing well, Vikings get back on the winning side. Defense goes out there and smothers Joe Flacco. Take care of the Colts. Colts, man. Uh, hell, Anthony Richardson might be back starting before you know it. Joe Flacco and that offense got smothered by Minnesota. Minnesota's defense went out there, put pressure on Flacco, made him uncomfortable, shut down that run game, and outside of the lone touchdown the offense did have, uh, locked them up, man. Locked them up. Minnesota's like, hey, we hit a two game bump. We're still there in the conversation, still with an outside chance to possibly take NFC North. Has just been crazy good this year. They've been crazy good this year because when you talk about Detroit, when you talk about Green Bay, when you talk about the Vikings, at different points of the season, they could have been in the conversation for best team in the NFC, and they're all in one division. And yeah, Green Bay is now sitting at 2.5 behind Detroit, but they're good enough to beat a Detroit team on any given Sunday. Man, this division is crazy. But Vikings take care of business at home, take care of the Colts. Like I said, Anthony Richardson might be back in the starting lineup sooner than you think. If that's what you're going to get from Joe Flacco going forward, I understand. You brought in Flacco, gave him the starting position because your offense needed a boost, but Minnesota said the hell with that and took all that away from you. Looking at the rest of the schedule from this past weekend, you have the Ravens blowing out the Denver Broncos. I did pick the Ravens to win that one, but I didn't think they was going to dominate Denver like that. Defense, Denver's defense have been playing very well this season. Just kind of ran into offensive train, and I think Baltimore. If you have to be encouraged. Have to be encouraged by your defense, kind of getting together, playing probably their most solid game from front to back this season. Baltimore's like, hey, just this offense, man. I'm telling you, this offense. I wasn't expecting them to put that on Denver like that. But this offense, man, is a special kind of offense. Lamar Jackson still playing at a high level MVP level. Derrick Henry is already over 1,000 yards, man. 9 games in, has already got 1,000 yards. And he's got 8 more to go. 8 more games to go. Could Derrick Henry at his quote unquote advanced age, and this as a Cowboys fan, this just pisses me off to watch his success. I like Derrick Henry, liked him since he was at Alabama, Roll Tide. But damn. This could Derrick Henry, a guy that some teams thought couldn't fit into their scheme. Could this guy get 2,000 yards before the end of the year? Jesus Christ! Now that pisses me off. Damn, Jerry. All right, let's finish it up. Saints, Panthers. Who cares? Panthers win. Bryce Young, probably his best game of his young career. I think he's kind of holding on to the starter job for one more week. The Saints went into full seller mode, moving off of Sean Lattimore, fired their head coach this week. How much the season has changed from the start when New Orleans was cooking and the offense was blowing people out the first 2 games to losing 7 straight. Kudos to them for doing what some teams don't have the heart doing. That's fire a coach in the middle of the season. Hey, we need a new voice in here. It ain't working. We ain't going nowhere. You're sitting at 2-7. Start preparing for the draft. And go from there. Start your job search for your head coach now. So get it out the way. Bengals take care of business at home against the Raiders. Raiders move off their OC and some 2 other members of their staff. Hey, at this point of the season, why hold on to guys you don't want around for next season? Go ahead, get rid of them, elevate some other guys, and we'll do this once again in the offseason. Chargers take care of business against the Browns. Jameis Winston, he's the true definition of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Some games he looks like an elite level quarterback, then other games, and you're like, what the hell is you looking at, Jameis? Like bad. And I'm like, he don't just have interceptions, man. He has bad interceptions. Browns were sellers at the deadline, got rid of Preston Smith, got rid of him. There was talks of possibly Miles Garrett, but they kind of quelled that, and he's not on the table. But congratulations to the Chargers. Listen, Chargers, I think, are a year ahead of really competing. And I say that really, I like what they have as far as the quarterback head coach combination. I think the Chargers are a year ahead of really competing. I think they got to get some more pieces in there to really compete with the elite teams in the AFC. But Chargers, a surprising 5-3. Justin Herbert, has been playing very well. Listen, I think they're a year ahead, man. I think they're a year ahead. Still with an opportunity to make get to the playoffs, maybe make some noise, but I think they're a year ahead. I think they're a year ahead. Um, Moving on from that, Cardinals sitting at 5-4, currently in control of the NFC West, and I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Cardinals have looked like the most consistent team in that division. I know San Francisco's kind of had their struggles with guys being out for injuries. It's been reported that Christian McCaffrey has returned back to practice, so you may see him in the coming weeks. But the Cardinals, man, have been the most consistent team in that division. And listen, take care of business against the Bears. Cardinals, I'm not going to say I underestimated. I think their record was going to be this good at this point of the season, based on the talent that they have in Arizona. But kudos to the head coach for um, you know, putting together a very good, I would say, a very good mentality into this team, because they understand. Listen, you're not talented in a lot of spots. Um, Probably the least talented team in this division, one of the least talented teams in the NFL. When you look at it from top to bottom, to be honest with you, but the head coach has instilled in them a attitude that I like. Um, it is a winning attitude. Is we're going to go out there and compete no matter what our record is, who we're playing. We're going to go out there and compete, and it's led them to some early success so far this season. They're leading the division, and like I said, they've been the most consistent team in that division. I think San Francisco, of course, is the most talented, but I think as far as consistency, Arizona has beat them. Um, Seahawks are flip floppy. Rams are kind of hit and miss. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals make a run for the playoffs, man. Be honest with you, they played that well, that consistent, despite being talent deficient in a lot of key spots. But this team, is very well coached. They go out there and take care of business. Moving on, Rams take care of business against the Seahawks. Nothing noteworthy there. Was reports that DK Metcalf, teams were inquiring about him at the trade deadline. Seattle said he's no bueno, no bueno. He's not going anywhere. So DK Metcalf will be with the Seattle Seahawks for the remainder of the year. But I'm curious to see, will they move off of him, because he's due for some money real soon. And Seattle's not one of those teams that like to break players off when it comes to the cash. And the franchise is notoriously cheap. Notoriously cheap. Let's see. I think I've got everybody. Yeah, I think I got everybody. We'll be doing. I'll be doing the show on Thursday. Will it be Wednesday or Thursday? I might do it tomorrow, but I might do it Thursday. The weekly preview show that we typically do. I may do it tomorrow, but I may do it Thursday. Kind of depending on what my schedule kind of looks like. And I have some material for AKBK on Friday, so I will be more than likely kind of putting that together. We're going to have a discussion for my basketball fans. We'll be having a discussion around basketball, but we'll be also what's going on, Tricks? We will also be talking about the Joel Embiid situation and how that kind of extends past the field of play. Yeah, we will be doing that. I think I have enough material to do that show. I think I have enough material to do that show. I spoke earlier. For the circle, I think is my link. Let me know if my link is pinned. Let me know if my link is pinned. Just throw one in the chat or something. Y'all just listening from the clouds. Yeah, that's what I do. I just put it back in here. think I got it. Okay. See it, Miss Mercer. I'll put it in here. I'm gonna have a quick little blackout. Have a quick little blackout. Um, yeah. But anyway, so like I said, we'll be doing the show probably Wednesday, maybe Thursday. I'm not sure which day I'm going to do it, but you'll get it. Of course, you'll get it. Of course, I was working on the KBK show for Friday, getting a little bit more material for that, and then we'll put together that show, of course, and then business as usual around here. Um, but other than that, I'm like my mind is kind of divided because I'm looking at the CNN, the MSNBCs, and that kind of stuff. Election night and stuff is good commentary. But anyway, ends you off with the phrase that pays around here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you learn. And I'm out.